Good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever you may be in our global viewing audience. Welcome to another episode of the Kinetic. My name is Sam Matero, host and producer of the show. And really, I should say, this is more than a show. This is a mission. We are on a faith walk, and we are putting our faith in motion and telling the stories of others that are doing the same. Tonight, my guest joining me from Alexandria. I believe she still lives in Alexandria, born and raised in Alexandria, Virginia, and working in the D.C. region. Adoma Adae, mental health advocate, doing great things in our community. And we're going to go ahead, bring her into the show, let you know a little bit about our guest. Adoma is a Longwood University graduate. She holds a BS degree in business and management with a concentration in marketing. She's raised in Alexandria. She works for the Department of State now in Washington, D.C. in the Congressional Affairs office, where she is a Liaison Program Analyst, and she supports Congress with international relations matters, I should say. She is the founder of Dark is Lovely, a mentoring program in which her goal is to encourage young girls to love themselves, how they are, and inspire women to celebrate one another. She's also a board member for the West African Community Collaborative, an organization whose main goal between the African community and the American system of healthcare, education, and immigration systems. She's recently written her first book called The Truth Behind the Shades, and a quote from the book, or a book that is meant to uplift single women, where it highlights the unique journey of 6 individual women who reveal their true personal stories and journey on love. Adoma is also a mental health advocate with a passion to help family members who battle with depression. Adoma Adae, welcome to the Kinetic. My goodness, you are one busy lady, aren't you?
I try not to be busy.
What, with all of that? My goodness gracious. What's not busy look like to Adoma Adae?
I know, I'm trying to figure out what's the definition of not being busy. I'm working on that.
Oh, I think it's wonderful doing what you're doing. Welcome so much. I really appreciate you coming on. And welcome to the show.
I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. What excites you about all this? What do you think about this cool technology we got going on here? I
love it. So I'm not that young, but I'm not that old, but I am not that tech savvy. So all this is fabulous. I want it in my home.
Pretty fun stuff. Absolutely. Well, before we get going here, let's just talk. Get to know each other a little bit. Born and raised in Alexandria, beautiful city. I have fallen in love with Alexandria. Love it.
I love it.
Oh, absolutely. Do you still reside in Alexandria?
Yes, I do.
Yeah? That's awesome.
I love Alexandria so much. I might move one day to my dream city.
Where? What? Ooh, tell us about your
somewhere
dream city.
Warm.
Yeah.
I wanted to live by the water, have like a beachfront house. So.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Florida.
This is definitely warmer for me. I moved here back in February from the mountains of upstate Pennsylvania. And
that's too cold.
We're definitely in another zone here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Got married to my lovely wife, who you met in the pre-show reel.
Yes.
And on Christmas Day last year. Yeah, isn't that cool?
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Oh, geez, sorry, baby. I know she's like, no, it was Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve. We got married on Christmas Eve. Well, it was. So, Adoma, let's start us off. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about what was it like growing up in Alexandria, Virginia. For those of you that don't know, I'm directly connected to Washington, D.C. That is not a suburb, definitely a separate municipality, separate city, but it's basically all become one huge metro area now. What was it like growing up in Alexandria for you?
It was great. I loved it. I grew up, for those that are from the area, I grew up on Richmond Highway. I would like to shout out my fellow Richmond Highwayers. I went to Mount Vernon High School. Yes, Mount Vernon. Alexandria is a beautiful city, as you said before. There's so much culture.
I work
so
down
diverse.
there. I work in that area off of Route 1.
That's my neighborhood. Yeah. Do you know where that Popeyes is?
Yeah,
Popeyes.
Sure. Absolutely.
I grew up right behind it.
I know exactly where you are.
So yeah, it was great experience. I had a great childhood. Lived here. I've been here since I was 8. So I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa.
Oh wow!
Came here when I was 8 years old, and it was great. I went to elementary, middle, high school, went to college in Farmville, Virginia. So it was quite different from Alexandria, but it was a great experience. So majority of my family and friends are still here.
So you have I saw in your bio that you were from Ghana. I didn't realize that you lived there up until you were 8. What was that experience like?
It was really good. It was really good. It was a great experience. Honestly, my father was a teacher.
Oh, wow.
So we had the opportunity to travel and lived in a few different places. So my childhood memory was like spread around. It's kind of like a military child.
Well, that's fantastic, though. You know, I keep telling my daughter, she's turning 21 next week, and I keep telling her, you know, travel is one of the best educations that you can get, especially if you have an opportunity to immerse yourself in another culture.
That's true. But for me, I was so young. You know, I was jealous of my older sister and brother because I see pictures and they're just having a great time. I don't have the memories of it, so... But I guess that's why I love to travel now.
And I see, again, according to your bio, you're working for the Department of State?
Yes. Busy place to work, especially right now.
Oh, yeah.
But it's good. I've been there for a while. If I tell you how long, you'll calculate when I graduate from college and you'll know how old I am, so I won't share that. But I've been there for a while. It's been a great career path. You know, I got out of college. I thought I was going to be the best event planner in the DMV area. But, you know, sometimes the plans you have are not the plans that God has for you, because I end up working at the Department of State, and I've been there for a while.
And really, that's... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm not the that big event planner that I was dreaming to be.
It is amazing how that works out. You know, my high school students, when I was teaching high school, I used to talk with them about, you know, career pathways. And it's funny how sometimes things work out where, like, for me, I mean, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a rock star, and I picked up the guitar when I was 16, and that was my vision. And then I decided, well, I want to go to school and become an electronics engineer and make processing equipment. Then I realized, no, too much math. No. Couldn't do that. So, you know, but one thing led to another, and it's really interesting. And while I never did realize that dream of being on stage and doing that professionally, you know, I look 30 years now where I'm at, and that one trajectory that started with that dream led to, one way or another, a 30-year-long career in the digital media arts. You know, I've been a video producer, a web designer, graphic designer, television host, you know, and still utilizing the gift of gab that God gave me, and every now and then sing a little tune to make me feel good and do some praise stuff and get on stage and do a gig. So, but it is funny how, you know, your faith walk doesn't always transpire out and roll out the way that you anticipate. But, you know, and really that's going to bring us to the topic of the show tonight. What are we talking about? We're talking about the timing of your purpose. God has a purpose for our lives, and believe it or not, He's got it on a timeline for us. Adoma, I had asked you, I like to do this show. Well, I don't like to do the show. The whole point of this show is just real talk. You know, Christians getting together, talking about their faith walk and having a conversation. But I like to pick a theme that we're going to kind of go on. I do enjoy that. So gives our audience something to think about, and our guests something to think about, and a point of conversation to kick off. So tell us, when I said to you that you pick something that is near and dear to your heart, that's on your heart right now, what do you want to talk about? And you said the timing of your purpose. Tell me about that. Why did that pop into your head when I asked you for a theme for the show?
Oh, well, for me, it was so vital to talk about that, because I feel like I'm finally living my purpose, right? All these years, as I said before, I thought I was going to be this big event planner. And that was going to be my career path. And I did not go into that route, that direction. And literally, just last year, believe it or not, is when I really figured out what my purpose was. God really showed me what exactly I am destined to do. And I was like, wow, it took all these years for me to figure this out. All along the time, I had my plans and my goals going in one direction, and he was molding me and pushing me into another direction. And so at this moment, literally, living my purpose, talking about mental health, being an advocate, being a voice for the voiceless, helping women, connecting people. I have been doing that for a while, but I've noticed that as of recent is when it's been really impactful. And I'm like, wow, God, this is actually what I'm destined to do. He turned a passion into purpose for me. So I felt that title was just so perfect for me in this moment.
How did that come to you? You said that, and we hear that a lot. The topic of the show last night was hearing the voice of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to hear these stories, because I know how supernatural of an experience this was for me when God took me and took my life and began this back and forth with me. It was absolutely no words to describe it, and still years later to this day it amazes me how succinct it is. Like the little wink that we got the other night, after you and I were texting back and forth, and it was just like these things that are so far beyond synchronicities or coincidences, but everybody's story and everybody's faith walk is different. That's why I love doing this show. So what was it like for you? Did the clouds open up and, Adoma, this is God, how did it happen for you? You said he showed you what you were supposed to do. Talk to me about that experience. What was it like? Where were you?
Where was I? Okay, so for the past 7 years, I was doing women empowerment, and I was doing an annual women empowerment event. Mm-hmm. Every June, I would host this big, amazing event with a lot of women, amazing women, phenomenal women. Would come together, we'll celebrate each other, and just have an amazing time. So each year, I would pick the theme according to the number of the year. And I would choose the number according to, I would have the theme connected to the biblical definition of the number, right? So 7
I was going to ask you for an example. Okay.
Yes. So 7 means completion.
Right.
And last year was year 7 of the women's empowerment. And so I brought it to a completion. And everyone was like, why are you ending this women's empowerment? I said, you know what? I'm bringing it to a place. I'm bringing it to an end. It's not an end forever, because I'm still going to be in the empowerment world. I'm still going to be helping young girls and other women doing different things. But there's something else that I really need to be doing. I need to be using my voice in a different way. And so I was praying to God, and I said, God, I really want to speak out and talk about mental health. I really want to bring awareness to this topic. It was something dear to my heart, due to my brother, who has been battling depression for many years. And I felt like he has been voiceless for so long. And finally, a few years back, I decided to speak and share his journey and his story. But just last year, I said, God, I really want to take a step and start working and doing things within the mental health field, in that area, in that capacity. And so honestly, I didn't really know the next steps after I was going to close down the women's empowerment. I just knew that I would have a few events from time to time. But as soon as I was done with that event, I literally had an aha moment. I was driving home from the event. I had all kinds of emotions going on that day. I was happy, but I was a little bit sad because I'm like, this is the last one. But you know what happened? Something came into my mind, God's voice, and he said, you know what? The number 8 in the Bible means new beginnings. Mm-hmm. Biblically, it means new beginnings. So you're going to go on a new journey. You're going to start something new. So don't worry about this. Just continue to follow your heart, and I have something for you. And I was like, okay, I trust you. And sometimes I don't do that. I'm just like, I don't know about this. But I trusted him. And I would say it wasn't even like 2 months later, a group, a Ghanaian pharmacy group, it was like an organization, reached out to me. And this is a group from Ghana. Now, in Ghana, they don't talk about mental health at all. It's such a big taboo, right? So they reached out to me about this event at the Ghanaian embassy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here's my sign. I get to use my voice to really do what I want to do now, right? And so I did that. And believe it or not, I've had so many requests to come out and speak about mental health.
And that was the request? What exactly did they ask you to do?
They asked me to come speak. Mm-hmm. I came to speak, and that was my very, very first time sharing about my brother publicly, mm-hmm. and especially within my own community, the Ghanaian community. You know, it was such a big deal. And literally weeks later, I was in LA at an event speaking about mental health. And then we rolled into 2020 and COVID hit. And I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And right now, there's no one right now that can say they're not dealing with some kind of emotion, right? And when COVID hit, there was so much fear, there was so much panic. People that could never relate to the topic of mental health were actually able to relate to having some kind of emotional issue. And I was like, wow, look at that. And when I tell you, I've had back-to-back speaking requests to talk about mental health. And so at that moment, that's when it was confirmed that God wanted me to use my voice purposely to be an advocate and just help other family members who have individuals in their family battling with depression.
So explain that to me, mental health advocate. What does that look like in a day? I mean, you're not. We should say you're not a counselor.
No.
Not a psychologist.
No.
Right.
I'm not claiming none of that.
Exactly. So, well, I want to preface that because some people go off the rails when they hear people talking about, anything that's clinical in nature, or they perceive that that's what we're saying. So we're saying, this isn't what Adoma does. Let's clarify. Right. What is a mental health advocate, and how does this tie into your mentoring program and your women's programs? What exactly does that look like?
Absolutely. And that's a great question, because I don't think a lot of people ever ask, well, what is a mental health advocate? Yeah. Well, I speak on the topic. Again, mm-hmm. I'm not licensed. I'm not educated in it, as far as I didn't go to school for this. Sure. I haven't worked in the field. But because I have a brother, again, who battled depression for almost 20 years now, I was there firsthand to witness all the emotions he was experiencing, all the challenging days that he had. I was there personally experiencing the trauma, the pain, just the sadness, everything that came with it, things that we couldn't do to support him. So I learned so much. I learned so much that now I'm able to support other family members. So as an advocate, I just go out into the community and I want to help other people. I want to bring awareness to the topic. So I want to talk to people about it and say, hey, it's okay. It's okay if you have a family member dealing with it. It's okay if you're dealing with it. It's nothing wrong with it at all. So I don't specialize in any of it, But that's what I definitely do as an advocate.
One of the things I like to do on the show is to really have people explain their faith walk. You know, everybody comes to God in their own way. Their relationship is unique, and as is the nature of the faith walk is unique and individual. At what point in your life did you feel that calling to follow Christ?
Probably about 10 years ago, I truly started creating and having a true relationship with God and really walking on my faith. Actually, I'll go backwards. I'll go a bit further back to college, right? Because the question was, when did you truly start your faith walk, right?
I mean, I didn't want to be cliched and say, when were you saved? You know, so many people have it on the day. It was February 9th. And I mean, I can tell you when it happened to me. I mean, it was dramatic, man. It involved literally going across the country and climbing a mountain, you know. But not everybody, it doesn't come that way, you know.
That's true. That's true. Well, for me, it goes back to college. So I grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic church with my mom and dad right down the street in Alexandria. But when I went to college, and, you know, going to the Catholic church, loved it while I was there. But I, as a young child, really didn't I would say, know that I was saved or was saved, because I was just kind of an attender. I would go in and out of church.
Sure.
I was dazing in and out. I wasn't really grasping much, right? So I get to college, and I remember my freshman year, my roommate asked me to go to BAM Jam. And I was like, what is that? I thought it was a party. And she was like, yeah, it's actually a Holy Ghost party. And I was like, oh, okay. I would love to go. So we attend BAM Jam. And I thought something was wrong with everyone, because I've never seen people falling out. I've never seen. I mean, you don't see any of that.
No.
Quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in there for an hour. You're done.
Right.
So for me, I was just like, what is wrong with them? Like, where am I at? You know, this is very odd. People were falling out, and it was different.
Were they speaking in tongues as well?
Speaking in tongues, and that was something I had never experienced. So again, not knowing much, to me, a young 19-year-old, I'm like, okay, is this like evil things? Like, is this bad? You know, I don't know. I wasn't exposed to it. And so the choir came on stage and they started singing. And as soon as they started singing, I started crying. Just started crying out of the blue. I just started crying. Had no idea what was going on, because I was just okay. Before I got there, I had nothing going on that I could say I was sad about or stressed. But when I started crying, I had this feeling come over me that I had never experienced. I never felt that. And it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. You know, I was crying and I was there, but I wasn't there. And so when we went back to our room, I was telling my roommate about it, because, again, she was used to this. So she was like running around, catching the Holy Spirit wherever she was. So I didn't see her until the end of this event. And we got back and she was like, you know, you caught the Holy Spirit. And I was like, oh, wow. You know, I didn't understand it. And so actually, before we left the event, they had an altar calling, you know, if you want to give your life to Jesus. Sure. And I literally, I went up there because I'm like, I'm Catholic, and I did give my life to Jesus, but I want to do it again. So at that moment, freshman year, Longwood University at BAM Jam, thanks to my roommate, I officially, became saved. And from that moment, I really drew close to God. And with the help of her and just other people that were really strong with their faith, I was able to truly get to know God for myself. And it's been that way since. So unfortunately, when I came back home from college, I went back to the Catholic Church, and I was trying to find a church home. It was kind of like the hardest thing. I didn't realize it's like finding the perfect home.
Yeah,
the perfect
it can be a daunting task to try to find a
absolutely. I visited many churches, and I just could not find what I found at Bam Jam. Because remember, for all 4 years, there was this ministry at church that was just like Bam Jam. We would go and just have an amazing time, amazing preaching, and it was phenomenal. So I came back hoping to find that. I told my parents, I'm like, I love the Catholic Church, but I need more. And I just need to be somewhere where I can grow spiritually. And they were totally fine with that. They were like, find what fulfills you. It's all about knowing God. Right. And you must know him for yourself, So thank God in 2010, a God sister of mine who was super phenomenal and amazing, Lisa, invited me to her church, Royal House Chapel, Maryland Mission. And she was like, come to my church. And at this time I was tired because everyone kept inviting me to their church, and I would get there and I'm like, no, this is not it. But literally, I walked in, I won't forget. It was November, Thanksgiving service that they were having. Went in with her, and the choir was playing. They were singing, and I just started feeling emotional. I was like, oh my gosh. And at that moment I was like, I found my home, and I've been there since.
So growing in your faith, as you referenced, what does that look like to you?
Growing in your faith, I think when you get to a place where you're so comfortable with where you're at, and you feel like you just, God, everything about the Bible. When you go to service or you read your Bible and you don't feel moved, you don't feel filled, you're stagnant. You're in a still
complacent.
Place.
You get complacent. Why there doesn't seem when you lose? I know what you're talking about. It's when the desire, the thirst, the fire for more, the desire to grow in this and to seek, and that passion just sort of, and you just become complacent, and it becomes kind of ritualistic,
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And when you stay in that place, it doesn't help you. It's not a benefit to you.
Not at all. Right.
You kind of lose interest, and you no longer want to partake. And it's kind of, it seems like everything is just the same, But where I go to church, I feel like every Sunday I learn something new. I know God for myself, but it's so fulfilling. I feel like my spirit is fed constantly. I'm replaying my pastor's messages. I'm taking notes. It's so just thrilling to hear the word that God has delivered through him, sent through him. And it's so amazing because I feel like I'm continuously growing. I don't know everything. I'm a woman of faith, and I just want to continue to grow. So I never want to be in a place of being stagnant. And when I was in the Catholic Church, even when I came back and I was older, because at first I was like, well, maybe it's because I was younger and I just didn't understand. But even when I came back from college and I tried to go back, I was just there. And that's when I knew I wasn't growing in my faith.
How big of a factor is your faith in your work, what you're doing with your Darkest Lovely movement, and when you're out speaking?
Big.
Yeah, is it?
It's huge, yes. I believe I'm in a place of healing. Healing is huge, right? I'm all things women, and I am always bringing women who are in need of healing. And that's a big thing with my faith walk. I believe that God is the reason why we're supposed to, God gives us that certain love to love on others, that certain love to help other people heal and become better, And so through my faith, I am able to really get that connection with God where I'm able to use it within what I do. Meaning, I have this heart where I want to see other people get closer to God, right? Through healing, through the empowerment, through us holding each other accountable. And that is something that I always tie back to what God would do. What would you, those bands, do you remember those bracelets? They're still out, but there are these bracelets that say, what would Jesus do? So
Right,
I
sure.
always kind of use that and tie it back with my mentoring with young girls and with women. Jesus came to heal, to save, and to help others. And I always tend to use that as I, go along with my group. So plays a big part.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see in working with young people in today's world? I mean, let's face it, my goodness, like you prefaced this whole thing, it's not the same world it was this time last year.
It's so much happening right now with the world, of course. With this pandemic, everyone's dealing with like emotional issues and emotional care. It's been very challenging, of course, because of what we're dealing with, especially with the teenagers. They are dealing with so much. For adults, it's already hard to kind of deal with what we're dealing with now, but as a teenager and emotions and having to stay home and like challenged through everything on a day-to-day basis has been very hard. So helping all of them just channel through and figure out where to go, where to start. I tell you, it's truly been a blessing to just be able to come together on events and come together as like groups. I try to have a lot of like Zoom meetings. Definitely try to have a lot of, we're limited, but I try to still have one-on-ones, come together as powwows, as much as possible.
Tell us about Dark is Lovely.
Dark is Lovely. So Dark is Lovely started, it was a movement. I went to Ghana in 2007. And while there, I met women who bleached their skin. And so it was very hard to watch. I would see women who their faces were a beautiful yellow color, very bright in color, and their hands would be the complexion of my skin. So they were very discolored. And I'm someone that's curious to know what's going on in others' lives. I'm a talker, so I ask questions, and out of my curiousness in a market one day, I became friends with a group of women, and they all looked like they bleached, but I didn't know at that time that they had bleached.
Did you know that was a thing? I mean, did it register the first time you saw this, that this is what was going on, and you were aware of it?
I had heard about it, honestly. Okay. I had heard about it, but I never saw it. And so when I saw it, it was unique. It was different. I was just like, why are they discolored like that? That didn't look normal to me. So just talking to them, they told me that being of a darker complexion was not beautiful. And it's better to be lighter, in the music videos, on TV shows, everything they see, magazines. It's always a woman who's of a lighter complexion. So that caused me to have like a very long conversation with them, because I'm like, no, your dark skin is absolutely beautiful.
So this was the vision that they were being sold from Western
Absolutely.
entertainment and media, and they are thinking this is what it takes to get along and to be successful and accepted in the outside world.
And that was the definition of beauty to them.
Wow.
That's what they thought was beautiful, know. That was what they were conditioned to believe.
Yeah.
And I didn't fault them nor judge them, because I don't know their upbringings. I don't know, what was told to them from a young age. But we're also not trained, to love ourselves at a young age. It's what it's what's around you. So after that, I came back and I decided that I wanted to do some more research on it. I wanted to find out how many people in the world, and is this really true, or was this my imagination? But found out that a lot of women bleach their skin in many countries, all over the world, even here in the U.S., speculations I can't say is confirmed, but it's known and assumed that a lot of celebrities tend to bleach their skin as well. So came up with this movement, and I wanted to have something where it's a platform for young girls to love themselves as they are, and to bring a place where women would celebrate and inspire each other. I think as women, we all deal with low self-esteem. We're always looking at our bodies and comparing it to other women. And if we can uplift one another, that can help eliminate that insecurity. So that was my inspiration. And that's where I got that from. So came back and just started working on it. Spoke to a couple friends of mine, and we just jump started and had a mentoring program for young girls and women. So that's where I started mentoring in my old middle school, in a community center, and then started the annual women's event.
Go into this. Tell us, and of course, we don't want to give any particulars away that would be able to identify anybody, but you must have some heart-wrenching stories that you've experienced over the years doing this.
Absolutely. Mentoring is not an easy task. You become the mother, the daughter, the sister, the counselor. You become all of these titles in one. And, sometimes I think the worst that I ever heard, the story that I heard, was a young lady admitted to me that she wanted to commit suicide, just because of the issues that were going on in her home. So she doesn't have peace at home. She goes to school and she gets bullied. So her world is just chaotic. There's no place of peace for her. And her only way out, as she thought, was to just commit suicide. And, suicide has become a very big, growing issue up to date. So that was really hard, but there's so many things I encounter. Young girls go through a lot, especially when they're transitioning from middle school to high school and they're trying to find themselves. So many different things happen. And a lot of times there's this dynamic of issues at home, at school, personally, low self-esteem, trying to figure out who they are. So I have come across some very tough stories and very hard stories to deal with. But I would say definitely that was the worst that I could hear, someone telling me that they want to take their life.
Do you find in the young people that you work with a strong spiritual component to their being?
Do I find it with them? Mm-hmm. Do I provide it, or do I find it as if do they have it on their own?
Do you see it? Do you see it in them? Is it something that's prevalent, or are the majority of them seeking and lost in terms of their spirituality? Where are they with that when they're coming to you looking for help? So
a lot of them are coming from broken homes. Sure. Or homes that aren't fully stable, so I don't see that. And that, as I said previously, that's where I kind of bring that in, and I'm able to share inspirationals, encouraging words. I'm quick to go to my pastor's page, copy a link, and send it to them. Listen to this. Weekly, I'll share some inspiration that he shared or my notes that I took, and that's how I'm able to tie that in with them. And a lot of times I've gotten to a point now, they'll call me and say, oh, can you pray for me? Or they'll text me and say, I'm going through this, can you pray for me? A lot of my girlfriends do it too, and I'm like, sure. Sometimes I can't pray for myself, but I'm going to pray for you too. So I love that piece of it, where they're lacking in their spirituality, I'm able to help them with that.
So what's next on your calendar? What do you got going on with your organization? Upcoming gigs? Did you hold your annual event this summer?
I didn't. So, last year was the last year for the annual women's event, because this year was New Beginnings. This year, I actually had a surprise. I was going to do a smaller women's event that had to get canceled. And I had something in store for the men.
Oh.
So but I can't give that away. So I'll be rolling that out June of 2021.
Oh, well, good.
So yeah, I did have some amazing...
Because, we need help too.
You guys do need help. We're not going to go there. But yes, you guys do need help. So yes, we had something super great. I've always been doing things for women, but I definitely wanted to do something for the men. So 2021. Outstanding.
So
yeah.
Where are you, I hate to bring this up, but this where we are as a nation, as a culture right now, with the going from the lockdowns to it's just an endless cycle of fear being fed to us. I can't imagine being a young person in the midst of this maelstrom right now. How do you stay, just dealing with the overwhelming negativity and constant bombardment of this, if you don't have a good solid family root and a solid spiritual faith and connection to God, I can't imagine how you're just feeling absolutely and completely lost. And how do you, Adoma, how do you have hope for the future? When you're a young person in the midst of all this.
A lot of young people right now feel hopeless. A lot of adults feel hopeless. But
frankly, I think legitimately so. If you're not, if you're not rooted to Christ and you aren't aware of the promises, then
absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I actually cut you off. My apologies. It's something that overwhelms me some days. I can feel it.
Right. No, it's, I tell the young girls all the time that, it's because a lot of the young girls are coming to me and not the guys. It's always the young girls. And they're always telling me that, they just feel lonely. Women and young girls were really filled with emotions all the time. It's really, really, I don't know, we've always been emotional. They always say girls are just so emotional and guys are not. So it's always the girls that are coming to me with their issues. And right now it's kind of like everything's taken away from them, and the guys too, but the guys don't complain as much. Guys have this tough image. I check on the young guys and they're like, oh, I'm fine. Cause they have video games and the young boys before they didn't like doing much. I hate to say that. So now it's even great. Yes, I don't have to do anything. But the young girls were active. They had goals. They had plans. They had all these things they want to do. High schoolers were going to prom. Just a lot of great things. A lot of things were canceled. So nobody is able to do anything. And so the word hopeless is definitely what they feel. They feel very, very hopeless. It's hard to tell somebody how to not feel hopeless when there aren't any solutions. I want to give a solution. But all I can do is truly encourage them and help them plan for next year. That's what I've implemented, and it's working amazingly. I'm giving them something to look forward to ahead of time versus now. I think a lot of times we focus on the now instead of the future. And because we've implemented these plans, they're all super excited. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to be over, and I have all these amazing things coming up. A lot of them are not feeling good about going back to school online. They've done it all summer. They're tired. They're bored. But we have all these different ideas and activities, vision boards. We're planning for 2021. I said, because you feel like nothing's happened 2020, let's plan for 2021. And so that's how I've been able to keep them encouraged. We do a lot of Zoom parties. And again, like I said, I just try my best to keep them encouraged.
How concerned are you as far as the effect that this lack of human contact is having on us as a people, not just young people.
Right.
I mean,
I'm very
I mean, I can't, honestly, Adoma, I can't even stand going to the grocery store anymore. You know?
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to have to, to wear a hazmat suit just to go out in public is one thing, but the lack of engagement is astonishing to me. I mean, everybody's just nobody's
scared.
talking, nobody's standing and having a conversation, everything's all quiet, it even seems like that is being promoted. I mean, I go into some of the large retailers now and there isn't even music playing on the PA systems anymore. It's like dead quiet in there.
It's a different world we're living in.
It's insanity. I don't understand it. I really, again, the precautions are one thing, and I'm not going to sit here and advocate or get into an argument about the efficacy of masks or no masks or whatever.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, I'm not getting into that. But the point that I'm trying to get at is what has this done to us as a culture, as a people, that we are so full of fear that even just the friendly banter that used to go on has just stopped. Try looking at a stranger and saying good morning these days, and it's mind-boggling to me how the vibe has changed. Yeah, you know what? It's not just different, but negative. It's negative.
It's different.
It's a negative energy.
Scary.
I know.
It's negative energy. We're living in the world of the unknown right now. We don't know what's next. We don't know what's going to happen. What do? We don't even know what to do, right? The fear of this, I think, as I keep talking about mental health, and sometimes people can't associate themselves with that word because it's too heavy. No, I don't have any mental health issues. I don't want that word on me. But we can all relate to the word emotional health, right? Okay. And as soon as this hit, everybody had some form of emotion, whether it was fear, anger, sadness, grieving. There was so many different emotions going on. And so what's going to happen is everyone's emotional health has been affected. It has. Because even stepping out the door, just like you said, you have to wear a mask. Mm-hmm. We have to wear a mask 24/7. This is a change, drastically, completely changing us from what we were doing before. The new norm is not normal. But we have to make it normal, which is scary. So I feel like a lot of people are going to leave this space not knowing how to be human again. We're going to be walking on eggshells.
Wow. That's a great point.
We're not going to know how to be human. We don't know how long we're going to be in this situation, right? We don't know how long we're not going to be able to see friends, hang out, go back to the norm. We don't know. Kids, college students don't know when they'll be going back to college, going back on campus, back to the actual school. Some are, but even when they go back, how can you be normal? How can you be human? You can't even hug. Like, all these simple things were taken away from us, right? But again, it goes back to just having that faith, right? Faith over fear. Tell people all the time, be fearless. A lot of people are scared to even step out the door. I get it. Be safe, but be fearless. Be careful, but be fearless. Meaning, take a walk, right? Because this new normal is not making us human, and we're stuck in the four walls, and that can really damage an individual's emotional state. I won't say mental state because some people are scared of that word, but it affects your emotional state. Older people that are living by themselves, they're going through so much. Singles are alone.
Oh, man.
Singles. I'll speak for the singles because I'm a single. We are going through a lot. We're talking to ourselves in our home. So, we can't date. You know what? People encourage single people to go out and date. How do you date in this new normal? It's not normal. We're not human, right? So I think it's important to try to be normal. How do you try to be normal? You read my mind. But you try to be, I try to be normal. I try to do the things that I used to love. You know, you still want to find options that makes you feel connected to the outside world, right? If you love certain sceneries, like I love the water. There's this beautiful water park in Alexandria. And so I can go there super, super early in the morning or super, super late, right? Not too late. Be careful. But when no one's there, that was my normal before, just unwinding from everything. I would go there and eat ice cream with my friends, but I have to take out my friends out that factor, but I'll still go there and still eat ice cream and look at the atmosphere, right? So I think it's important to try to be normal, the best that you can be.
What do you think the effect has been on the body of the church? And I'm not talking about the brick and mortar church. I mean, it's bad enough that it's just bizarro land to me that it's okay to go to Walmart by the hundreds, but you can't go to church. In your mind and in your heart, as a Christian, as a believer, what do you think is happening? What do you think the message here is to humanity?
I think everyone's being tested, right? What it's doing to the church is finding out who really has a relationship with God on their own, right? That individually, what is it doing? It is forcing people to have a relationship with God, right?
In the beginning,
in the beginning, we couldn't go to the church. So you had the churches in your heart, and you had to make sure to keep that. Now you don't have, somebody holding your hand to bring you to church on Sunday. Are you still going to log into the message on Sunday? Are you still going to Zoom in? Are you still going to pray? So I think, one, we were tested. God wanted to truly see who was faithful to him on their own, right? As a church right now, it is very difficult, because we do have to fellowship in person together. There's this different thing that happens. It's a different atmosphere when we are in the house of the Lord and just fellowshipping with one another. There's a different dynamic. No one can take that away.
And it's our charge. We're commanded to.
We're commanded to do so. Absolutely. We must be in the house of the Lord, right? But it is hard. It is hard, right? Because you want to bring people together. I love a lot of churches that open. My church is opened up a few weeks ago. And they said, come, you RSVP and come. There's still some rules with it. If you're older, you definitely don't want to be put in a place of being you're high risk, so you don't want to be put in harm's way, right? So don't come if you can't come, but still come. The church is open. I know it took a toll on a lot of people, on a lot of churches, because it's not the same. It's a different dynamic not being in the house of the Lord. I do think it changes so much as far as fellowship. And fellowship is important. It's an important tool that we have to keep within us. A lot of people, there was so much argument with this. This is a heavy one, because a lot of people were saying, why are the churches closed? They should be opened. But then a lot of people were saying, well, if you go into the church, that's where a lot of people are. So you can easily catch and spread the coronavirus. So it was a tough battle. But I go back to saying the church is in your heart, because the doors weren't open, the house of the Lord wasn't open, doesn't mean that your heart should have been closed to receiving the word daily, praying, keeping that faith walk, keeping that relationship. I did everything to keep myself, still in touch and still in tune with the Lord at all times.
So anybody out there, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've got about 4 minutes left. So
yes.
Any last thoughts that you would like to get out?
I'll say this. God is good at all times. A lot of people right now are struggling with just what is going on in the world. People are feeling lonely. People are feeling hopeless and helpless. But just know that stay true to yourself, one. 2, God will never fail you. 3, he knows the plans that he has for you, right? Just like I thought I was going to be the best event planner and it took a totally different direction. He knows what he's doing. So we have to trust him. And you have to be happy. I'll say this. Do not deny your emotions. I tell people that all the time. We're going through a very tough time right now in the world, not just in the country, but in the world. So don't deny the emotions that you're dealing with, but just don't let the emotions control you.
Right. Don't let them rule you. Absolutely.
Are. Don't let it control you. You control the emotions. You know, you may have a hard day, but pick back up. Bottom line, be happy. Happiness is the key to an amazing heart, an amazing person, and an amazing life. Don't rush anything. If things fail on you, just know that it's not meant to be at that time, but eventually it'll make sense. Nothing ever makes sense in the moment, but later on you'll look back and say, oh, that's why. That's why I didn't get into that college, because I was meant to go and do this. Everything falls in place. It's all about timing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, appreciate what you're doing. Looking forward to learning more about your upcoming events and your outreach.
Yes.
And if you'd like to say, would you like to take us out with a bit of a prayer with me tonight?
Absolutely. You want me to pray? I'll give you a prayer. You were going to pray. No, go ahead.
If you would like to. I love it when our guests do. Everybody has a different flair and a different take on how they speak
I'll let
to God.
Pray.
I love to
I'll take it all in.
Okay. Well, absolutely fantastic. So, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to get together with brothers and sisters in the faith and come under your wing and talk about life, share our walk with you and the uniqueness of it all and the individual passions that are in play as we seek out a closer relationship with you. And thank you for this woman and what she's doing to help young people in her community, in our community here in the DC metro area, and online reaching out via these technologies that you've blessed us with. So thank you. And all praises to you. In Jesus' name, we go into another day thanking you for all of the blessings that you bestowed upon us, and we call forth healing for this nation, healing for all those that are suffering, healing for all those that are in sick. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. My special guest today, Adoma Adae. Adoma, thank you so much. We greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you coming on, giving us your insights and what you're doing for the young people of the DC region. Miss Adoma Adae, tonight on the Kinetic Archive, coming up to you on YouTube and Facebook tomorrow morning. In the meantime, peace to you. Thanks to you. God bless. And we are out.